Good evening and welcome to WYLN's late edition for Monday, July 9th, 2012. I'm Ann Gownley in for Lisa Sugart. Tonight we're joined by Karen Bogosh and Karen Essek, who will tell us about an exciting event happening at Eckley Miners Village this weekend. Bill Hood has details of a motorcycle run held for an area girl with a heart transplant. And Ken Karazin with sports and tells us who won District 18 Little League champion. And Chief Meteorologist Joe Garbachik's in the Weather Center with your weekday forecast. But first, late edition's look at tonight's top stories. A continuing discussion of a merger on Bloomsburg High School and Central Columbia. Our Bill Hood has all the details.
About 40 people gathered here today at Central Columbia Middle School to discuss the possibility of a consolidation with Bloomsburg School District. Among the different aspects discussed were the financial and educational outcomes. Dr. Carrie Moyer of Civic Research Alliance, which conducted the assessment, presented the feasibility study. The study outlined Central Columbia's different options. Those options included staying as is, renovating the 51-year-old high school, or consolidation and renovation of the high school. Attendees such as Bill Fitch expressed concerns about issues with classroom space.
As I mentioned on the Bloom, though, the squeeze does get put on if Central pursues and ever goes to a full-day kindergarten. Some of the room to move that they now have in their elementary school, if the 5th grade gets shoved back down into the elementary school, that's going to chew up a lot of that space.
And that wasn't the only concern. Parents like William Rakowskis say that Central Columbia is a good school on its own.
I think Central is a very good school. I'd like to see it renovate its high school, but remain as it is. I think financially it doesn't make sense. I think educationally it doesn't really make sense. Central has a nice size school now. If you raise it by 1.5 to 1 3/4, I think it becomes too big of a school. Right now it has good academics, good extracurriculars, good sports, and I'd like to have it stay as it is.
Superintendent of Central Columbia, Harry Mathias, took a vote at the end of the meeting, with almost all voting for renovating the current high school without consolidation, and no one in attendance voting for consolidation at all. Mathias says this vote will be taken into account by the school board when they have to make the decision of whether or not to consolidate.
Sure. Well, I don't want to speak for the board members. Obviously, they're elected by the people, but they deliberate and they look over the data and so forth, and I'm sure they take into account what their taxpayers believe. I think the numbers are as obvious to our board members that it is to the taxpayers.
But no matter what the board decides, changes will not be immediate.
Short term, it won't mean anything because we were going to be doing the same thing we're doing this year anyway. And as was discussed at tonight's meeting, this was going to take 2-3 years, even if it was going to happen. So short term, there's no difference.
The deadline for a decision on consolidation is August 20th. That is so that the plans for a much-needed renovation to the Central Columbia High School can be made. For WYLN's Late Edition, I'm Bill Hood.